You're annoying others. Say that again? Look at your behavior. You're disturbing us. You're annoying everyone just for your own sake. Don't yell at me. I haven't done anything wrong. It's all your fault, and you still want to deny it?
On the evening of December 1, a shocking incident occurred on Spring Airlines Japan flight IJ005, which was scheduled to fly from Tokyo Narita Airport to Shanghai Pudong. About 1 hour and 40 minutes after takeoff, something unexpected happened. A Chinese man and woman were traveling together, but their seats were not next to each other. After boarding, the man attempted to switch seats with a nearby passenger so he could sit next to his companion, but the neighboring passenger refused. The man then asked the flight attendant for help, but the flight attendant replied, "Sir, this seat requires an additional fee. You can either pay the fee or return to your original seat." In theory, this situation should have been simple, either pay the fee or return to the original seat. But the passenger refused to pay, claiming it was discrimination against Chinese people. His voice grew louder and his emotions escalated. Eventually, he began to verbally abuse the flight crew. The chief flight attendant quickly approached and warned, "Sir, if you continue like this, we will have to report to the captain." But the passenger ignored the warning and even attempted to rush towards the work area. According to sources, the man argued with the flight attendants for nearly 2 hours. In the end, the captain made a decision. The flight would turn back. Then, as passengers on the flight were exhausted and drifting in and out of sleep on the late-night flight, they suddenly didn't hear the usual announcement of "we are preparing to descend." Instead, they were greeted with the unexpected announcement that the flight was turning back.
本次航班的机长决定，我们将返回成田国际机场。我们的飞机将在50分钟后降落在成田国际机场。
One passenger sighed. "We were so close to the East China Sea, almost there, and now we're turning back to Narita. Shanghai was so much closer." After the announcement stopped, the cabin suddenly filled with shouting. It was the scene at the beginning of this story. There was a clear sense of frustration. "It's all your fault I can't get home." All the anger seemed to point at one person, the middle-aged man sitting in the middle section of the economy class. The plane finally landed safely at Narita Airport at 10:40 p.m. When the cabin door opened, the first people to board were Japanese police officers. The police officer asked, "Is it this person?" The flight attendant confirmed, "Yes." The police then told the man, "You need to get off. You've caused trouble for everyone." The once arrogant Chinese man's demeanor quickly changed when he saw the Japanese police standing in front of him. Unable to explain himself fully in Japanese, he could only ask the woman beside him to help translate.
Please explain it to him.
But the Japanese police were not swayed by this and quickly escorted him off the plane. All the Chinese passengers had to leave the plane and return to the airport. Many of the Chinese passengers should have already arrived in Shanghai, ready to go home, take a hot shower, and prepare for work the next day or attend other plans. Instead, because of one person, they, along with passengers from other countries, were forced to return to the departure point. The feeling cannot simply be described as speechless. Don't you think you should kneel? What's the point of living? How can you still have the nerve to live? Don't go back to Shanghai. Just because you have no shame, don't drag us down with you.
Everyone has to do extra work because of you. How old are you? Haven't your parents taught you anything?
Is this fun? How can you still make that gesture? Come over here if you've got the guts. Don't walk away.
Still so arrogant. Wait until you get out of the airport.
If you're so rich, why are you flying economy?
Don't close your eyes tonight.
On Xiaohongshu, many passengers from the same flight that day couldn't help but vent their frustrations. One passenger was very direct in their comment. The person who caused the trouble bought a cheap ticket and sat in row 13. After boarding, he wanted to move to row 15 but refused to pay the 30 RMB seat change fee. He argued with the crew for 2 hours and the entire flight had to turn back. Another passenger provided more details. The troublemaker asked to sit with his family when he first boarded the plane, but his family was seated in a row that required an additional 600 yen. When told to pay, he said, "We can sit in the free seats as long as we sit together." The flight attendant refused, and then he started causing a scene. Chinese vlogger Xiao Zheng, based in Japan, pointed out that this was a budget flight with Spring Airlines Japan. Therefore, switching seats or upgrading required a fee. If you were really feeling sick, that would be understandable, but to argue with the crew for 2 hours over just 600 yen or about 30 RMB is something. I really have to admire the flight attendants' patience. After everyone disembarked, they were rebooked on a flight the next morning at 10 a.m., and each passenger was compensated 10,000 yen, about 500 RMB. But the airline did not arrange any accommodation. Since it was already 10:40 p.m. Japan time, many passengers were forced to stay at the airport and spent the night sitting in airport chairs. As for this outcome, some passengers were content, seeing it as a free ride and earning a day's wage, but more passengers were unhappy, unable to sleep well through the night. Many criticized Spring Airlines online, claiming that refusing to offer a free seat change led to the flight returning, which seemed unheard of. But one passenger on the same flight shared, "You don't know how arrogant he was. I was afraid the flight attendants might break down. He kept saying the flight attendants threatened him. In the end, the flight really did turn back, and he only settled down when the police were about to arrive." On the early morning of December 2, Spring Airlines Japan issued a statement saying that the incident was caused by an illegal act by a passenger interfering with the safe operation of the flight. The airline made every effort to coordinate the situation and changed the flight to IJ005D, which took off again at 10 a.m. local time. The flight finally arrived at Shanghai Pudong at 12:40 p.m. Interestingly, according to fellow passengers, the Japanese flight attendants were shocked by something the man said. He told them, "I know your general manager Wang. Are you okay?" He claimed to know Wang, the general manager of Spring Airlines, and threatened to file a complaint with him. It's worth noting that Spring Airlines, which first flew on July 18, 2005, is China's first private low-cost airline. The company primarily operates from Shanghai Hongqiao International Airport and Shanghai Pudong International Airport. Spring Airlines was founded by Wang Zhenhua, who established the airline in 2004 and served as its chairman. He later handed over the company to his eldest son, Wang Yu. The Chinese passenger who caused the disturbance, along with many others, may have misunderstood the situation. Spring Airlines Japan, which operates flights between Japan and China, is no longer a company controlled by Chinese interests. Originally, Spring Airlines Japan was indeed a subsidiary of China's Spring Airlines. It was established in 2012 as a joint venture with Japan Airlines, with Spring Airlines holding the majority share. At that time, the planes carried Spring Airlines logo, followed Spring Airlines standards, and mainly served Chinese passengers. But in 2020, the pandemic hit, causing a complete suspension of international flights, and Spring Airlines Japan faced heavy losses. Japan Airlines seized the opportunity and increased its investment, ultimately gaining full control. In June 2021, Japan Airlines acquired 67% of the shares, while Spring Airlines' stake dropped to 33%, making it a minority shareholder with no management rights. More importantly, the management was completely replaced. The current board members and operational leaders were all appointed by Japan Airlines, and the pilots and crew follow the strict safety manuals of Japan Airlines. In other words, although the plane still carries the Spring logo and the booking website still lists Spring Airlines Japan, it is now essentially a standard Japanese airline. A Chinese vlogger pointed out that many Chinese passengers see Spring Airlines Japan and mistakenly believe it is a Chinese company. They might expect the same negotiable approach they are used to in China, but in reality, they are dealing with a company that follows strict Japanese rules and regulations.
这就像什么？就像你以为自己进了中餐馆。
It's like thinking you're in a Chinese restaurant, but the waiter serves Japanese food, but then asks you to use chopsticks according to Japanese rules. How can you not be confused? This brings up a fundamental difference in service philosophies between China and Japan. In China, we're used to the idea that customer is always right. Many things can be negotiated, and if the seat is empty, what's the harm in sitting there? Rules are fixed, but people are flexible. Moreover, in many service industries at home, to avoid conflict, businesses might compromise, speak louder, be a little more assertive, and the issue could be resolved. But in Japan, rules are rules. They are not for negotiation, not for haggling, and certainly not for causing a scene. Paying for a reserved seat means someone else has already paid for the right to that seat. If you don't pay, sitting there is unfair to the other passengers. More importantly, under Japan's aviation law, if you refuse to obey the captain's orders, cause a disturbance in the cabin, or interfere with the crew's duties, it constitutes an act of obstructing safe flight. The captain has the right to turn the plane back, and the police have the authority to arrest you on the spot. This is no joke. Article 73 of Japan's aviation law clearly states that violators can face a fine of up to 500,000 yen or even criminal detention. And this isn't over. After returning to China, this passenger may be placed on the blacklist of China's civil aviation, preventing them from buying tickets for a year or even longer. So the question is, was it worth causing a scene over a small seat fee? What I want to emphasize is that when traveling abroad, it's not about how much you spend or whether you feel wrong, but whether you understand the importance of following rules. You may dislike the rules and feel free to complain about them after returning, but when you're in that environment, you must comply. Because one person's stubbornness could ruin the plans of 136 others. One person's impulsive actions could cost the airline hundreds of thousands, and more importantly, you're not just representing yourself, but the image of Chinese tourists.
The vlogger also calculated the airline's losses from this return flight, including extra fuel costs, additional landing and takeoff fees, passenger compensation, crew overtime pay, and ground staff costs. The total loss amounted to at least 5 million yen, which is roughly 250,000 to 300,000 RMB. Now, if we compare this to the passenger seat fee of just a few dozen yuan, the airline's loss ratio is 5,000 to 1. The vlogger pointed out that this small amount of money ultimately led to the airline losing at least 5 million yen, or about 250,000 RMB. On top of that, 136 innocent passengers were forced off the plane and the flight was cancelled. When you do the math, this just doesn't add up, does it?
36个人跟着遭殃。
One person could cause trouble, and 136 others suffer. Among those passengers, there might be parents traveling with children, elderly people, and workers rushing back home for important matters. They did nothing wrong. They were simply sitting in their seats, but because one person's selfishness, they were all forced off the plane and had to spend the night on the cold airport floor. And all of this started because of a seat fee that cost just a few dozen yuan.
The vlogger believes that the way Spring Airlines Japan handled this situation is something every Chinese airline should learn from. The captain was willing to accept a 5 million yen loss to turn the flight back. Why? Because he needed to send a message to all passengers. There are no expectations when it comes to rules. This is not heartlessness, it's being responsible to the 136 passengers who followed the rules. According to vlogger Xiao Zheng, the Chinese passenger who caused the disturbance was not detained and later rebooked on a flight with Junyao Airline to return to China. A subsequent report from Japan stated that the police questioned the passenger, but this was not a case that warranted charges. The vlogger believes that while the passenger may not face as much responsibility as many assumed, he has already been heavily criticized on social media. The vlogger hopes that this incident will serve as a lesson for him.
说实话，有的时候，很多人说
To be honest, many people say that Chinese people are wealthier now, more confident, and have seen more of the world. But let me tell you, after traveling to so many countries over the past decade, based on my travel experience, I can confidently say that, in terms of tourist behavior, we rank near the bottom worldwide. I'm telling you, incidents like this, where people cause a scene on the planes, happen frequently, and with social media now, we occasionally see them online. But you don't know how many others happen that you don't see. So don't blame others when they say their impression of Chinese people isn't very good, whether it's abroad or elsewhere. And what I hate hearing the most is this: our country is so great. What does the prosperity of your country have to do with you? What have you done for the country? Just don't embarrass the country when you're abroad. I don't even want to hear you say you're Chinese. Do you know that? When you call me a fellow countryman, I'm not happy about it at all. Honestly, especially those people traveling abroad who embarrass Chinese people everywhere. The scary part is, these are often the same people who shout the loudest online, saying things like, I love my country, I love this, I love that. You say you love it so much, but the moment you travel abroad, you make Chinese a disgrace.
The vlogger pointed out, it's already 2025, and incidents like this, where people can't sit together on a flight, insist on sitting together, and cause the plane to turn back, still happen. Isn't that surreal? And then they talk about we've become stronger and we've risen. Please, just sit down and stop embarrassing yourselves. Many people left comments on the related video. One user said, Why all these problems on a budget airline like Spring Airlines? Why not just buy a business class ticket? One more vlogger noted, let's not even talk about going abroad. Uncivilized behavior is just as common domestically. Mr. Wang, a Malaysian Chinese who was born and raised in China, stated that China has thousands of years of advanced civilization and a long-standing tradition of virtue and kindness. She said, before the CCP took power, Chinese people were also known for their courtesy. But after that, it destroyed traditional culture through movements like the Cultural Revolution, especially with the brainwashing of many little pink nationalists within China's party culture. The behavior abroad has tarnished the image of Chinese people. She said that this is very sad and has embarrassed overseas Chinese communities. But this is not the true nature of Chinese people. It's the CCP's fault. The CCP does not equal China, nor does it represent the Chinese people. She said, it's important to make this distinction. Moreover, not all Chinese people are bad. Many are now sincerely trying to reclaim their traditions. I know some Falun Gong meditation practitioners who belong to such a group. Lastly, it's worth mentioning that recently, due to rising tensions between China and Japan over the Taiwan Straits issue, the Chinese Foreign Ministry issued a notice urging Chinese citizens to avoid traveling to Japan. But passengers at Shanghai Pudong Airport flying to Japan still faced long queues, with many stating, "Politics has nothing to do with me." As the pressure from Chinese authorities increased, several major Chinese travel agencies suspended the sale of Japan travel packages and multiple airlines cancelled flights to Japan, causing ticket prices for round-trip flights between China and Japan to soar. But many Chinese citizens reviewed that their tickets to Japan were forcibly cancelled by the authorities, not due to their own choice. Recently, a reporter from Japan Today conducted an on-site investigation and found that while the number of Chinese tourists has indeed decreased, the number of international visitors has not dropped at all. Popular tourist spots in Kyoto remain crowded with visitors. Analysts believe that the CCP thought its political interventions in the tourism market would hurt Japan, but in reality, Japan is attracting more international tourists. The Japanese may now feel that fewer Chinese tourists who are seen as morally compromised and brainwashed by the CCP is actually beneficial for Japan. Meanwhile, many Chinese people have lost the opportunity to experience Japanese culture and purchase high-quality Japanese-made products.